Yes, we are still working on this house. Yes, we are going to be doing another little project to get this thing one step closer to being finished. And yes, I believe this video is the last bit of construction that has to be done on this house. I'm very excited. Let's jump into it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Garmin. This is the Storycraft Society, and we are back for another week of getting this house done. If you have not been present for the journey for the last few weeks, you will know that I am using this series of YouTube videos to force myself to get this house done because it's a really cool house and I really want to get it finished. Once I get it done, I will be happy with myself. These videos are just kind of dual purpose. They help so I can show you how to do little things that I've done on the house, but also they get me a step closer to getting the house finished and ready for my game table. This week we are going to be working on doing all of the shutters for the windows and getting the doors all finished up on this thing. This is the last bit of construction that we're going to have to do on this particular build, and I'm very excited to get to dive into it. Now, this video is going to be just like all the others have been so far in this series, where we're going to be doing little tiny projects that get us one step closer, and they're very easy to do. They just take the time of actually getting them done. So let's dive into it. Too much chatting. Let's craft. I don't know why that felt cheap or cheesy or something. So the first step of what I'm going to be doing is going to be using this painter's tape. This is like probably the best tip of this whole video, so I'm front loading it here at the beginning because it's, just that useful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this, I'm gonna rip off a little piece, fold this edge over and put it down like that. Then I'm gonna fold this other edge and I'm gonna put it down like this. So what that's going to give me the ability to do is place my pieces of things on here and then they won't move around. That's like really essential for when we get down to the time of like actually putting super glue on these things to getting them glued together. So painter's tape, number one. Now I'm gonna be starting with this window here, and the way that I'm basically gonna do all of my windows is this way. I'm going to pull out my mini wood craft sticks. These are basically like matchsticks, and what I'm gonna do is use them to make the window covering because they fit really well as scale planking. What I need to do is figure out exactly how far across this is, and I also need to mark how big it is. So we're gonna start with the marking. I can just take one of these, make a little mark where it goes. I can check that to the other side to make sure that it's all going to work. It will. Then the next thing that I need to do is measure how far across we're going to be going. And I can do that by grabbing just a handful of them, put them all basically together. Funny how lucky that was, but this is the right amount and it's the right width. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I need to get 9 of them cut to that length. Now using my craft saw, I'm going to cut 9 of those to length. They're gonna end up looking like this, which is great. And now we get to start assembling this thing. So what we're gonna do is pull all 9 of them out here and we're gonna start setting them in to place. And this is where this tape really starts to come in handy. And now we have that all laid out in a way that if I bump it or move it a little bit, it's not going to mess up the shape of it, which, honestly, like I said, is basically invaluable. So the next thing is we need to start doing the cross bracing. So I'm going to pull out my coffee stir sticks. These work in a very similar way to how we did the others. I'm just gonna put it into place here, and then I'm going to mark it so I know where to cut it. Then I'm gonna cut it, and after I do that, then I'm gonna pull out my X-Acto knife and I'm gonna use that to split this down the middle to make it into 2 smaller pieces that I'll be able to glue onto my main window. This is where this painter's tape thing lifts heroic amounts of weight. It allows me to glue these down and not have to worry about bumping into the little pieces and scattering them all across my cutting mat. I'm gonna also use a pair of tweezers. It allows me to not worry about getting my fingers into the glue, and my fingers tend to stick to things. The super glue that I'm using here is just basic Gorilla super glue, but it's the gel kind, and I'm gonna put a little thin strip down the back of my upper planking, put that against the lower planking, hold that for just a few seconds, and then we're good to go. That's how easy it is to get these little window coverings finished. So, moving on to the next thing. While we're waiting for this guy to dry, we can move on to the next thing that I need to build, which is going to be the door that fits into this gap here. So what we're going to be using is skinny craft sticks. Now these are nice because they are exactly the same as the coffee stir sticks, except just a little bit beefier. It's just a little bit more, and it just has a little bit more rigidity than the coffee stir sticks do, and so that's going to give a little bit more heft to my door. The next thing that I need to do is take and run a file along the edges of these to make them look a little bit more worn in. And once I have a few of them done that way, then I'm gonna make this door the exact same way that I made my little window. I'm gonna mark out to see what size I need. I'm gonna cut enough of them to go across the whole frame of the door here. Then I'm gonna stick it down onto my painter's tape. Then I'll put bracing across it using the coffee stir sticks. The one thing that I am going to do different this time though is I'm going to do a Z pattern on this just to bring a little bit of that texture out and show off something that is a little bit more visually exciting than just the 2-plank version that I did for the window coverings. The very final thing that I'm going to do to the door is I'm going to pull out a little piece of one of those mini craft sticks, and I'm going to shape it to look like a door handle. This is very easy to do. I just used the thin edge of my file and sanded out the little handhold area, and then I'm going to pull out my super glue and glue it in place. But once that's done and they're all dried up, then they're ready to go. So now it's just as simple as peeling it off of the blue tape here, and now I have my piece, and this should, fingers crossed, drum roll, brrr, fit right up in here and will now work great as my little window covering. But simple enough, that is it for this little project, and I think that it is definitely cheesy, but cliches exist because they are true. A lot of little projects make a big project. One step at a time is all you can do. One foot in front of the other is all you can do. And I am one, honestly, major step closer to finishing this thing off. Now, the one thing that you'll notice that I didn't do is I did not glue the door and window coverings down. That's on purpose, because what I want to be able to do is paint this thing up first and then glue in all of those wood pieces later. They're just going to paint differently than the foam is, so I don't want to have to paint around them. That just makes things too complicated. So what we'll do is in the next video, we're going to be getting this thing all the way painted, and then we're going to be attaching all of the windows and doors and getting the whole thing completely finished up. So hopefully you're enjoying this series. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying this content, definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't. The #1 way that you can help a small YouTube channel out is to share this video with a friend that you think would enjoy it. Like this video, comment down below. I love hearing from everyone. And honestly, that's it. That's it for this week's video. Until next week, I'll be seeing you.